Hey guys, welcome to my full PLL tutorial. In this video I'm going to be showing you the algorithms that I personally use for all 21 PLL cases. Now we're going to start things off with the A Perms, and what we're looking for is headlights, and then we're looking for a block of 2 and a block of 2 which are connected here, or in this case we've got headlights and a block of 2 and a block of 2. Now, holding the headlights on the left, if your block of 2 and 2 is at the front and the right, this is the AA Perm. Headlights on the left, if your block of 2 is at the back and the right, this is the AB Perm. Now, the algorithm that I use for the AA Perm is X, which is a rotation bringing the bottom facing towards you. So X, L2, D2, L prime, U prime, L, D2, L prime, U, L prime. And for the AB Perm, X prime is bringing the top towards you, X prime, L2, D2, L, U, L prime, D2, L, U prime, L. And that solves that. The next case is F Perm, and what we're looking for is a bar of 3 on one side, and if we look around the rest of the cube there will be no other colours matching. Now, holding the bar on the left hand side, now this algorithm is, there are 3 setup moves, and then we move on to the algorithm that I taught in my Look PLL video for when you have the headlights, minus the F prime move at the end, and then there are 2 other moves at the end. So let's go through it and I'll show you what I mean. So we do R prime, U prime, F prime, and they're the 3 setup moves, and then the rest of the algorithm is the same as the Look PLL case I taught for headlights. R, U, R prime, U prime, R prime, F, R2, U prime, R prime, U prime, R, U, R prime, and instead of the F here that we would do at the end of that algorithm, we do U and then R. The next 4 cases are probably the scariest when it first comes to learning full PLL, but don't be intimidated by them, they are much easier than they look. These are the G Perms. We're looking for headlights, and we're looking for a block of 2 that is not attached to the headlights. So this is the GA Perm, headlights on the left, and the block of 2 is on the front right. In the GB Perm, headlights to the left, and the block of 2 is on the right hand side at the back. For the GC Perm, headlights on the left, and the block of 2 is on the back right. And finally for the GD Perm, headlights on the left, and the block of 2 is on the front of the right hand side. Okay, so the algorithms that I use for the G Perms, for GA got the headlights in the left, and we do R2, U, R prime, U, R prime, U prime, R, U prime, R2, U prime, D, R prime, U, R, D prime. For GB, headlights to the left, R prime, U prime, R, U and D prime together, R2, U, R prime, U, R, U prime, R, U prime, R2, D. For the GC Perm, we hold the headlights to the left, our block of 2 will be at the back here, and we do R2, U prime, R, U prime, R, U, R prime, U, R2, U, D prime, R, U prime, R prime, D. For GD, headlights in the left, and our block of 2 is on the right hand side here at the front, and we do R, U, R prime, U prime, D, R2, U prime, R, U prime, R prime, U, R prime, U, R2, D prime. These are the J perms, and what we're looking for is a bar of 3 and then blocks of 2 on each of the remaining faces. Bar of 3, blocks of 2. Now if you're holding the bar on your left and the block of 2 at the front is touching the bar, that is the JA perm. If you're holding it on the bar on the left, the block of 2 is not touching the bar at the front, this is the JB perm. And how I do the JA perm is X, R2, F, R, F prime, R, U2, R wide prime, U, R wide, U2. For JB, holding the bar of 3 to the left, R, U, R prime, F prime, R, U, R prime, U prime, R prime, F, R2, U prime, R prime. These are the R perms, and very similar to the G perms, they have the headlights and they have one block of 2 and nothing else around the cube. The difference here is that the block of 2 is touching the headlights. So if your headlights on the left, the block of 2 at the front, that is RA perm. Headlights on the left and your block of 2 at the back, that is your RB perm. Okay, so the algorithm that I use for the RA perm is R, U prime, R prime, U prime, R, U, R, D, R prime, U prime, R, D prime, R prime, U2, R prime. And for RB, headlights on the left, block at the back, R2, F, R, U, R, U prime, R prime, F prime, R, U2, R prime, U2, R. This is the T perm. Easiest way to tell the T perm is we have headlights on the left hand side, we have a bar or 2 here touching the headlights, and a bar or 2 at the back here touching the headlights. Also you can tell it's a T perm as the edge piece between the headlights should be the opposite colour, and its corner pieces will be here on the front right and at the back right, and the edge piece on the opposite side will be the edge piece that belongs here, matching the headlights. Now you should know this algorithm from my Look PLL video. It was the algorithm I taught for when you have any headlight case, and other than this case it will give you an edge only case. So the algorithm is R, U, R prime, U prime, R prime, F, R2, U prime, R prime, U prime, R, U, R prime, F prime. That is it for all the cases where the corners, we've got 2 corners matching. These are the cases where we don't have any corners matching. And this is the E perm, which is probably the hardest to tell. Looking around, and there are no blocks anywhere around the cube. Now to know which way to hold it, we're looking at the edge piece in front of us, and we want its matching corners to be on the opposite at the back here, and it makes almost a T, I guess you could say, so coming up here and here. What we don't want is, see how they've got the orange facing us here, its corners are there and there. We don't want that facing us. If we had the orange facing us, we want its corners to be here. Okay, so the blue and the green, the corners are on the opposite sides of it. Holding it towards us, the algorithm I use is X prime, R, U prime, R prime, D, R, U, R prime, D prime, R, U, R prime, D, R, U prime, R prime, D prime. These are the N perms and everybody's favourite. I'm just kidding. The N perms, we're looking for blocks of 2, and there'll be blocks of 2 around the entire cube. Okay, now if the block of 2 is on your right hand side, whichever face you look at, it's on your right hand side, that is the NA perm. And if the block of 2 is on your left hand side, no matter which way you look at the cube, all the way around, it's on your left-hand side. That is the NB perm. Now, the algorithm that I use for NA perm, it is actually pretty easy to remember. It's a long one, but it's easy to remember. It is a couple of setup moves, and it is then the JB perm, and then there's a couple of setup moves to finish. Okay, so we go R, U, R prime, U, R, U, R prime, F prime, R, U, R prime, U prime, R prime, F, R2, U prime, R prime, U2, R, U prime, R prime. Now for the NB perm, doesn't matter which way you hold it, R prime, U, R, U prime, R prime, F prime, U prime, F, R, U, R prime, F, R prime, F prime, R, U prime, R. This is the V perm, and what we're looking for is a block of 2 and a block of 2 touching at the corner here. Same as the A perm, except we'll find there is no headlights on the other side. Now I'll bring back in the A perm. Here's our block of 2 and block of 2, and around the other side we will find on one of these two faces headlights. Here they are here. Another way you can tell the difference is looking at the blocks of 2 and blocks of 2. The two corners, they'll be the same colour on the A perm, and on the V perm, they will not. Okay, now the algorithm that I use for the V perm, it does look complicated at first glance, but to simplify it, it is R prime, F wide prime. Then I do the same algorithm you would do for the soon OLL, which is this case here, where you have one corner orientated in the front left, and you have this yellow piece here in the front right, and you do this algorithm to solve the yellow top. So once again, it'll be R prime, F wide prime, the same algorithm for the soon OLL, then U, F wide, then the sexy trigger, and then R to finish. So altogether it will look like this, holding the block of 2 and 2 here on the left and the front. We go R prime, F wide prime. Then the soon OLL case, which is R, U, R prime, U, R, U2, R prime, then U, F wide, then the sexy trigger, which is R, U, R prime, U prime, and then R to finish. This is the Y perm, and what we're looking for is a block of 2 on the front left and a block of 2 on the back right, which is kind of isolating this corner here on its own. So holding it so this corner is in the front right, we're going to do the same algorithm that I taught in my Look PLL video for any case where you have no headlights. So it goes like this. F, R, U prime, R prime, U prime, R, U, R prime, F, R, U, R prime, U prime, R prime, F, R, F prime. Now the final 4 cases for PLL you should already know as well. I did show them in my Look PLL video. These are the edge only cases. This is the H perm, where we have our edges that need swapping are opposite. So these two need swapping, these two need swapping. And your algorithm for that is M2, U prime, M2, U2, M2, U prime, M2. These are the U perms. U perm is where we have one side solved and we have 3 edges left to cycle. The UA perm is an anti-clockwise cycle, the red to here, the green to here, and the orange to here. And the UB is a clockwise cycle, so the green edge comes here, the red edge comes here, the orange edge over here. Now the algorithm that I use for UA perm is M2, U, M, U2, M prime, U, M2. And for UB, M2, U prime, M, U2, M prime, U prime, M2. And the final PLL case, this is the Z Perm. And the Z Perm is where we have edges that are adjacent to each other that need swapping. So here is the blue and the orange edge that needs swapping. And in the back, the green and the red edge need swapping. Now holding it so that your adjacent swaps are in the front and the right, and the other two are in the left and the back, do the following algorithm. M prime, U prime, M2, U prime, M2, U prime, M prime, U2, M2. And then in this case we just do a U to align the top. Okay guys, that's it for this video. That is all 21 PLL cases and the algorithms that I use. I will look at doing another video shortly with a few alternative algorithms, ones that might seem a little bit easier for people to learn, particularly the G-Perms. So I understand they do look very intimidating, and they aren't the algorithms that I first learned for G-Perm either. I've only been using those myself for about a week or so, but they are the more traditional G-Perm algorithms. Other than that guys, thanks for watching and happy cubing. Cheers.